Welcome to another broadcast of the Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome to the April 17th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. I get the dog today, yes. Hey, puppy, come on. Come here. Come here. Can you sit? Can you sit? Do you know what sit means? Oh, look at that. Oh, good. No, you're supposed to stay. You sit. Stay. Be photogenic for just a minute. Can you stay? Oh, that's a good
She's so
puppy.
cute.
Okay, this is.
This is Betty.
She wants to walk. This is our featured pet this week. It's a female Chihuahua mix picked up on Ford Road in Elyria. She is in cage number 39 and is eligible for adoption on Saturday, April 19th.
Mm-hmm.
If you like to walk, you need a buddy. Come on down and see what we have at the kennel. Looks like
a
she
little bit
loves
of pug in it
everybody.
too. She's got a little bit of pug. It's cute.
She just loves Gennaro.
She's got a lot of energy.
She's coming up here
Yeah,
now.
too much.
She's going to see Hal.
More like a pug.
A thought for today: surviving and living your life successfully requires courage. The goals and dreams you're seeking require courage and risk-taking. Learn from the turtle. It only makes progress when it sticks out its neck. Madam Clerk?
Under Resolutions Number 1, Job and Family Services Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez?
I do have a couple of possible new hires to discuss with the commissioners. Also want to update you on ongoing labor negotiations and the potential purchase of real estate. All three subjects are permissible under the Sunshine Law, so I request that we have an executive session at the conclusion of our regular board meeting so that we can do that.
Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the same for the Lorain County Board of Commissioners meeting minutes from April 10th and the 11th, which was Child Care 2008.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Approve and enter in a renewal agreement with Corsa effective May 1st, 2008 through April 20th, 2009, and authorize payment in the amount of $883,910.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Jim, that does include a discount on our payback, correct? About $160,000 off our premium?
On Corsair?
Yes.
Yes, it does. While we've had some issues with them, the costs are, they're managing the costs pretty well. And we will be looking at options just to make sure that those costs stay in the best interest of the county.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under Community Development, approve and enter an agreement with Neighborhood House Association of Lorain County in the amount of $35,000 for the homeless shelter services. This is effective retroactive to January 1st, 2008 through December 31st, 2008, paid from the shelter account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Approve and enter an agreement with Senior Citizens Association of Lorain County in the amount of $38,800 for counseling services for the elderly of the county and the Meals on Wheels of Avon Lake and Avon, effective retroactive January 1st, 2008 through December 31st, 2008, to be paid from seniors' account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under Transit, approve and enter an MOA with NOACA to provide transportation planning and services. This working to improve WIN agreement is to define roles and responsibilities of these entities as they work to enhance the transportation system and it should be, I think, quality of life for the citizens of Northeast Ohio, which contains a 90-day ring cancellation clause.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Workforce Development Agency, approve and enter into various contracts for vendor training and incumbent worker. Training is contingent upon the match provided by the employer. Authorize county administrator to execute on behalf of the board with prosecutor's approval as to form. And there are 7 applications. 1, J. Beckett Manufacturing, Inc., Lorain, in the amount not to exceed $28,329.67. Lorain National Bank, Elyria, in the amount not to exceed $30,000. Comstorac, Inc., Lorain, in the amount not to exceed $14,567.88. Lorain County Automotive Systems, Inc., Lorain, in the amount not to exceed $3,753.52. Buchco Electric, Amherst, in the amount not to exceed $20,200.80. Parker Hanfin Corporation, Nicholas Airborne Division, Elyria, not to exceed $3,680. And AWO Welding and Fab, Inc., Lorain, in the amount not to exceed $14,820.78.
I assume that you would like to comment on these, Mr. Cortez?
Well, I have a question for Madam Clerk, because I didn't look at the final agenda, and that's my fault. Are these the numbers with the employer, or with the employer and county match, or are they just the employer's share?
This is the half match,
The-
Jim.
It is the
This
half
is
match?
half.
Yeah.
I think for sake of the resolution, so we don't have a problem later on, I think that we should include the total sum, because this says not to exceed, even though the match is being provided by the employer. I think we need to have the aggregate amount in there. Again, I didn't look at the final
Okay,
draft.
well, it says in the resolution, training is contingent upon the match provided by the employer, so it's almost an assume, but you'd rather have the total in there also?
I
So
just
put
don't want to
times
get,
2?
I just don't want to get any bills and have any problems on the second floor. Again, I didn't vet this before that. I had indicated to Sandy that I thought we were going to list it as employer, incumbent workers total,
Okay.
and I didn't get back to take a look at this. So,
Can we change that after the fact, or just do it now on the floor so we don't hold up the
yeah,
dollars?
I think we can recognize it there. All I'm asking, again, when we do the final resolution, that we have the employer match, the incumbent worker dollar amount, and then the total amount of the training.
So
Well,
you
it's
want
all in
the
our
total
paperwork.
not
It
to
is.
exceed 60,000, for example, employer contribution, whatever it is.
Yeah, some of them are not a doubling of the number, and some are. So I just don't want to run into a problem downstairs with paying any bills, because the employer match for, I don't know, for the 30,000, they may have, that may only be 40% of what they're doing, because some of our match money is 25%, depending on where the training is done. So I just don't want to have to come back and housekeep this at a later date. So if we could just, for the final resolution, list it as, and Teresa and I can do that, employer contribution, incumbent worker contribution, and then total amount. That would definitely make it clear that we don't have any problems later. With regard to these programs, you can see that we're doing a real good job on Project 10. A couple things have changed, and I informed you guys a couple of weeks ago that we were having some problem with the match with the wages from the employer side of the house, that we had received some guidance from the office out of Chicago for the Department of Labor that we're not allowed to use employer match anymore. We've vigorously worked through that program and are working with the state to try to request a waiver to that ruling, and we'll be weighing in very heavily with regard to that with the state so that they can push this with the Department of Labor. I can only tell you that we definitely need to be able to use the employer's salary as a match, because that makes it very, very cost effective for them to be able to provide cost effective training and keep their employees on that continuum of lifelong learning. I also think that we have some people here. I see Don in the back, and he may want to let you know where we are at with the program more fully than I will.
And also, Jim, don't we want to push more participation before the end of the month on any employers?
Well,
Under the old guidelines?
I guess I'll finish up that comment. We were able to achieve success for a minor amount of time. We have until May 1st to use wages as an in-kind match by employers. After anything that we do after May 1st, we'll not be allowed to do that until we get the waiver. But we have been granted a disposition, so to speak, until May 1st. So if we want to get any packages queued up, they got to see done between now and, I would say next week, because you guys got to do it by resolution, so it's got to come to the board. All that would have to occur before May 1st.
It's our understanding that what we need to do is we need to have the applications in and actually approved by the leadership team and put forward to the commissioners before May 1st.
So we have to approve before May 1st. We couldn't do it the first meeting in May if you've had everything in queue?
We need to get them signed off and in front of you by that date, yes.
Here's what we can do, Commissioner. We get a couple hot prospects. We'll just have a special meeting. You know, we can get together for 10 or 15 minutes and approve them if you feel so inclined. So it's not, we wouldn't have to wait for a full-blown meeting. Hopefully some things will get queued, and we can make whatever decisions we need to make at that time to make sure that we get maximum dollars into these companies before May 1st.
Right, okay, that's the goal. Go ahead, sorry, Don.
Quite all right. As of right now, the program actually has been doing very successful. I ran some numbers to get an official update. Last time I was here before you, we only had some rough ideas. Since December 3rd of 2007, we have had a total of 39 inquiries into the Project 10 program, and that is current as of yesterday. Of that, of course, 2 were approved at the last hearing. We have a total of 7 applications before you. 4 of those companies are here today, and I'll call them up momentarily just to say a few words. We have another 5 applications that are in the final stages of the approval process, making sure they have all their numbers correct, all their I's dotted and T's crossed before they're submitted to the leadership team and then to you, the commissioners. We also have another 7 that are in the initial stages of the application process, either making the first inquiry or being visited by the initial Project 10 team to make the needs determination. Myself, Julie Cantrell from Lorain County Community College, and Diana Gott from JVS have been working very diligently to get as many of these companies in to the process and approved before that May 1st date, so that way we can qualify them underneath the previous guidelines before that changes. So today that are present, we have representatives from Becotech Manufacturing, Mary Ellen Jameson, who's the HR manager, Lorain County Automotive Systems, Desiree Cutright, the HR manager there, and if you guys would come up. Butchco Electric, Brenda Click, who is the office administrator, and Parker Hannafin Chavella Cole, who is the HR team leader. And so I'd just like to let each of them make a few comments. Oh, sorry. Came in late. She snuck in on me.
the front door.
And from Lorain National Bank, Mary Ann Kosak, Vice President and Director of Professional Development.
Okay. My name is Mary Ellen Jameson. I'm from Becotech, and we're on Oberlin Avenue in Lorain. And we're very appreciative to receive this money so we could be competitive and get our workers up to snuff so we could continue to have growth. Thank you.
Thank you,
Great
Ms.
company. You
Jameson.
guys have been there for a long time. The old American Crucible.
Yes.
Yeah, great company.
Good morning. I'm Desiree Cutright from Lorain County Automotive Systems. We too are very appreciative for the money from the county. We manufacture seat components for our automotive industry, and it's a very competitive industry. And we're going to be able to create more jobs and keep moving forward with the more business that we get in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Nice expansion, too.
Good morning. My name is Brenda Click, and I'm from Butchco Electric, and we are, as a company, very appreciative for this chance. As you know, it's a very competitive business. Our company's been in business since 1940, and we're trying to keep out there. And with education and being able to grow, and also the safety for our employees are, above the most important for our company. And we would just like to say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clerk.
Good morning. My name is Shavella Cole, and I'm the HR team leader at Parker Hannafin's Nichols Airborne Division here in Elyria, Ohio. And we're part of the aerospace industry, and we're looking to expand and grow our business about 10% each year over the next decade here. And we certainly appreciate your consideration and your approval for funding for a lot of our workforce development and training. That is certainly going to be key as we go forward here. Speed to market, having team members with skills that can leverage our strength in the marketplace will certainly be key to that growth. So we thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Cole.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann Kosak from Lorain National Bank, and I'm personally grateful for the funds to train, because it's very challenging to find the funds nowadays to train, and that we're a local independent bank has always been important to me and to the community. We've been here since 1905, and to continue to grow the bank in what has really, I've been there for 30 years, has become increasingly challenging to get new customers. The training is needed for leadership and for the PC technical skills. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Ms. Kosak.
And we have one more last-minute entrant here, is representing A1 Welding and Fabrication, Wayne Balco, who is the vice president of the company and actually is straight from the shop. So I'll let him say a few words so we can get back to work.
You look appropriately attired.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say on behalf of A1 Welding, we've been around for 45 years, a family-owned business, and we've never been involved in this type of program. And for us, it's really something new, and we're excited about it. I think it gives our guys some more initiative, and they're pretty pumped up about learning more about their own job, what they could do to help. And I just want to thank you. It's a very good idea, and it's going to help us a lot.
And thank you for stopping by.
Congratulations. Thank you.
The final applicant, Consumer Rock, expressed their regrets yesterday. They were unable to attend due to some board meetings and prior commitments, but the president of the company, Jeff Riddell, asked me to express his thanks and to say that he regrets that he will not be able to be officially grilled by Mr. Cortez. So. But overall, though, everything is moving very well, aside from the couple challenges that Mr. Cortez mentioned in regards to the current regulations. But we're definitely working strongly to try and get through those as soon as we can and keep this very successful program moving forward.
Don, do you believe we'll get another dozen companies before the end of the month then? The 7 you're talking about, and then the 5 that are in the queue already?
I would not want to commit to 12 precisely, because a lot of times some of the challenges we face are on the company end. If things come up, they may delay filling out their application. Is it feasible with the way we have our current process? Yes. Will we actually get a dozen? I would not want to say for certain that we could get a dozen. We should at least see another 5, but we're going to try to reach that 12 mark as close as we can.
The leadership team's been really great about meeting ad hoc, and Don and Vivian have done a yeoman's job. In fact, we're meeting a couple evenings because people's schedules didn't come together, and we worked well into the evening trying to get these packages vetted and go through them. So things are moving real good, Commissioners. I got to tell you, today you saw everything from manufacturing to welding to straight out administrative office type services. So the dollars are being applied across the whole spectrum within Lorain County and not being pocketed in one particular area. It's definitely needed, and we're gaining the necessary momentum. I will tell you the initiative that the state is putting before the Fed government with regards to incumbent worker training, while not being called Project 10, it sneakingly looks just like our program, doesn't it, Don?
Very close.
It's very close. They just won't adopt the Project 10. I think that would give us a little bit too much credit. But I read the waiver request, as have you and the leadership team, and we were kind of chuckling to ourselves because we had sent our package off to the state several weeks ago, working with them on this, and I would think that they really, really liked our concepts here, and they're going to get behind it as a statewide initiative. Whether they'll give us credit for that or not, I'm not completely sure. But if you have a chance to talk to any of our folks, we definitely need to continue to work very diligently to try to keep that wage match. I think that's a key selling point. It's not the only point. Some have done it without the wage match. I think we had one or two packages done that didn't have the wage match.
We've had a few that did not have the wage match because of when the state had sent down some
Right.
say guidelines or policy that we wanted to be careful about.
And we've restructured a little bit of the dollars so that any training that is produced here already supported by taxpayers through JBS, the college schools, we don't end up allowing people to come into Lorain County and provide that training. The secondary portion of the program is to support our local institutions by having them provide the training, and we have a program where if the training is not available, then we pay a higher percentage because it's not produced locally, but we're also trying to make that full circle with our local training institutions and educational institutions to keep them fully engaged also. There's a lot of good outcomes with this program, and the commissioners got behind this about a year and a half ago. We've had some struggles with it, but we're going down the tracks right now pretty fast. So we continue to appreciate your support. We have some new dollars for this next year, and I think in June or July we're going to make a full-blown presentation and let you see firsthand what's going on in these companies, some testimonials, some employees that have gained the training, how they feel about it. And what we're going to do to even do more going into the 2009 fiscal year, because we're in 2008 fiscal year dollars until June 30th with regard to this funding. So we're looking for some new initiatives for the 2009 year, and we'll be making a much more bolder presentation at that time.
Thank you. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Commissioners.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Anything further? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
Thank you. I don't believe I have any additional comments this
You
morning.
have an item under your name.
Yeah, the Port Authority letter of credit.
One last comment. I think the room was a little too blue for Jeff Riddell. Anyway, just had to do that. Jeff's a good
He's not here to throw something at him.
Well, he passed along his love, so I had to send a little back. The Port Authority letter of credit. Commissioners, we have something queued up with the Port Authority, and I thought that we would meet, and we haven't. But I will tell you, we have an exciting opportunity, and I think Mr. Kalo is probably going to be talking more fully about it than I am. But we may exhaust our ability to do loans within the Port Authority if we do this loan. It's going to be for $3.8 million. Yes, it's an exciting opportunity. It's already survived underwriting. It's already been, term sheet's already been accepted by the company. It's going to create new jobs, bring a new business to Lorain County. But the Port Authority has not met to approve it yet. We've been in touch with the members, but I'm trying to get a Port Authority meeting for Monday. So it would be premature for me to reveal much more about this. And this was a referral company from Commissioner Kalo that we worked with over the last few weeks. But we're going to be stretched to the very breaking point, the Port Authority, with regard to our ability to do loans. And we also have National Bronze in the queue for $2 million, and we haven't done that loan yet because they haven't drawn those funds. So we're going to need additional lines of credit from the county to be able to keep the Port Authority healthy and running and being able to do the financing, become the premier financing agency within Lorain County for projects that are publicly supported. So I really don't want to speak too much more on this until the port meets and goes over that application. But Mr. Kalo is free to discuss what he wants with regard to that.
When you get done with your Port Authority meeting, we can talk about it. So let's get it done by Tuesday, Earth Day, please.
I thought we already had a $3 million line of credit with the Port Authority.
We do, Commissioner.
So why, and we haven't utilized that, and I know that costs us money to have that line of credit. Why would we go after another line of credit?
The Port Authority line of credit doesn't cost the county anything. We pay the line of credit for the line of credit vis-a-vis the proceeds from other loans that we've done at the Port Authority. In fact,
But they haven't made much money through the Port Authority. Isn't it all advances out of the general fund?
Actually, we're bringing in about 60,000, Ron, a year.
Yeah, it's pretty close to 60,000.
We make about $60,000 a year at the Port Authority.
Yeah, but that line of credit, from what I recollect, was $30,000.
It
just
was
to have
last
it?
year, and it goes down to 18, 19 this year, because the first year was a half percent, and then it went down to a quarter
Yeah, it
percent.
went down to a third of a cent is what it went down, or a third of a percent. So we've spent so far with the letter of credit about $35,000, $36,000 for that letter of credit. But with the deal we're working on that's in the queue, we'll use that $3 million plus what reserve we have, and then we'll need another letter of credit for the National Bronze Project.
Ron, and what are the amount of fees that are going to be generated off the new deal that can be approved if Mr. Cordez gets the meeting for Monday?
I don't remember. I didn't bring that sheet with me. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
I thought the number's a little weak. I think it's going to be more, but it's going to be at least $150,000 into the Port Authority. We'll get between $5,000 and $8,000 a year on a continuous revenue stream from that deal. And also the line of credit will be paid for because it's rolled into the deal. The line of credit is actually, the way we're doing it is as an advance. Once a company, we do a bonding for a company, that's the cost of doing the bonding, and they actually pick up the cost of the letter of credit, correct?
Right.
So we have to have.
Well, we're paying 1/3% for the letter of credit while we're not using it. Then when we use it and loan it out to a company, this particular company will be paying 5 3/4% interest. So you can see the benefit of doing that. But it is guaranteed.
Yeah, we have to have the line of credit so when somebody queues up, we don't have to start the process. It took us about 6 months to get that. The county guaranteed the line of credit, but by the time we worked with the banks and got everything done and got all the paperwork accomplished, it was about 6 months lapse. Now, I'm hoping because we've been through the process already, we can accelerate it more fully if we go for a different line of credit. And of course, it's up to the commissioners in the county. This will be deal number 3. National Bronze will be deal number 4, and of course, we don't have to do the $3.8 million. But we've already agreed to National Bronze. They're in the queue in the hopper first, even though we haven't done the bonding to them. They're there first, and in order to bring along this next company, we would have to be able to understand that an additional line of credit would be approved to handle National Bronze. So while the Port Authority will make a initial agreement on whether they're going to do the loan or not, we will be back to the board prior to doing anything with that loan to make sure we can still take care of National Bronze and all the jobs they're creating over in Sheffield Township.
Well, I believe the minimal cost, though, on doing the letter of credit and building our Port Authority, which is our major goal to get to the 5th deal. So we're not 100% financing it, so we can continue economic development here. We should get the 5th deal in the next 90 to 120 days. Another one I'm working on, so.
Well, I would have been optimistic 6 years ago and said we'd be there in 3 years, and I missed that, so.
Ron and I were.
We're hoping.
Since we've been here 3.5 years.
You know, Ron and I were commiserating yesterday. We've been at this for 6 years, Ron and I, trying to do these things. And, you know, we've had a couple good deals that other people have taken from us, and we've had a couple at the end that because of the rates going against us weren't as desirous by the companies as they should have been.
But even with those deals that we lost, a commercial lender stepped through, so the investments were still made. So we served our purpose.
Sometimes we act, I got to say this, and it bears a certain amount of discussion. Sometimes they use us as a spoiler.
Right, where's the bargaining chip in their dealings with the private sector?
You know, it's much like we have, you know, we have become. They don't get the rate they want from the bank, so they saber rattle by coming over. They make an application for us. We do a lot of work, and then they go back to their lending institutions to try to get them to tweak up their pen and pencil so that they can achieve a better rate. And we've kind of been left holding the bag. But it's all part of the business cycle, and we don't have a choice but to do that. We can't say, sign this line, you know, guarantee us before we do any work. Much like a lot of businesses, we have to seek out the work and do it, and then hope that we're in the best position possible.
Well, I think our benefit now, especially with the way the finance markets are, we have a guaranteed fixed rate versus a floating rate in the commercial market, so it's a benefit to go through our financing at this point. Like I said, we'll have another 90 to 120 days. Like I said, this is 3.8 million. Hope next one's about 1.5 million, 1.8 million, not quite as large. And I said if we can get this done by Monday, we'd like to do the announcement on Tuesday, Earth Day. So.
I sent out the emails. I haven't received a response from a few of the board members yet. As soon as I have a quorum, we'll get on top of this thing. I know you had indicated you'd like to have a Port Authority response by Tuesday, and we're working towards that. The $3.8 million, the reason I'm talking about an additional line of credit for Commissioner Kokoski is we really weren't planning on doing a loan this big. We had thought that we would do a couple 1.2s, 1.3s, and we'd be able to have the smaller deals. You know, the funny part is it's not an aggregate dollar amount on the loans with the rating agencies. It's the number of deals. I'd rather have a couple small deals to get to on number 5 so our reserve requirement goes down to 50% than to have big deals because they exhaust us. I don't understand the methodology being used by Moody's and Fitch's with regard to that. I think they should look at the deals and a dollar amount. Also, the Port Authority did receive revenue, and we have done certificates of participation with the schools and work with them on some of their financing, but they don't count as bond deals.
Right.
And I think we did 2 or 3 of those.
1.
Midview, I thought we did 2.
1. We worked on 2.
I was hoping it was 2 or 3.
The fish was this big. We're working hard at it, but I will tell you now, so you can give it some thought, that if we don't get an additional guarantee from the county, if the board from the Port Authority does this loan, that'll essentially put us out of business with regards to being able to do any further lending.
And for the public's sake, if I could, let's remind them with the letter of credit, when we do a port deal, the one we're talking about, $3.8 million, to do $1 million deal is the break-even point time we pay the underwriting and the bond counsel and everything. It's still fairly expensive. It's much more to the advantage of the company to do a $3.8 million deal because it's less percentage going to underwriting. It costs just as much and time involved to do a $3.8 million as one. And frankly, business in today's cost situation, $1 million isn't what it used to be, and so more companies are looking for the $3 to $5, maybe $8 million deals rather than the $1 million deals. So that's been difficult. But for the public, not only do we loan this and then sell the bonds, we also have the company put into an account for us, our bond reserve account, which we have the letter of credit and money sitting cash to cover all of these deals 100%. Each company is required to put 1 full year of payments in advance. So it's protected 2 or 3 ways so that we don't, in theory, ever have to touch our bond reserve fund or the letter of credit, but the bond rating agencies want it there in case we have a thing like Summit County did where they did a loan and the township in this case said, no, we don't think we need that much space and we're no longer going to pay. Somebody has to pay the person that bought the bond their money, and that's what port authorities are guaranteeing. So that's how, I know it's complicated, but that's how the letter of credits and everything work. It's there as a safeguard. It's not there that we're using. That's not the money we give to the company. It's there as a backup. That's why we can get the interest rate fairly cheap.
And I will say that I'm not aware, there's a couple of large ones and some small ones around the state. I don't think that any county Board of Commissioners has invested as fully in making things work as this board. I don't know of any letters of credit to support their port authorities that have been issued by any boards of commissioners.
Well, Jim, a lot of that goes back to the issues that came up when Toledo Lucas had an issue, though, and they
Yes.
changed the rules we had to play under. I remember when I first came into office, you were explaining it to me, so it wasn't something,
When-
we
when-
started out wrong 6 years ago.
When we
If they
started-
changed the rules halfway through, like the incumbent worker training in Project 10, that now we're having to address by doing the letter of credit, so
You
we
know-
can fund 100%.
I'll tell you, Commissioner, when we first did the Port Authority, and it took us almost 2 years from the beginning to the end, and at that point, Commissioner Blair was providing the leadership with regard to that issue, was one of her projects. We thought that we'd be able to do about $24 million worth of loans, $25 million worth of loans with a $2.5 million bond reserve and leverage that. And you're completely accurate, and I remember the discussions we had when you were first running for office about that. The Toledo Lucas had a default. I don't know the specifics, but it shook the market, and the rating agencies came back and said, you can't leverage your funds anymore. You need a 100% match against any bonds that you're going to issue until you get to 5 deals, and then you only need a 50% match. We're trying to core our way to those 5 deals so we can drop our reserves necessary to support doing more lending. You're right, and it's a point well made, is that we didn't do anything wrong. The rules changed after we were in the game and made it that much more difficult for these port authorities to achieve success. There's no way we're going to do 5 loans for $2.5 million with 100% reserve. It's just impractical. And as Ron said, our break-even point is $1 million loan to be able to make it somewhat cost-effective to issue funding into the community. So unless other counties follow what Lorain County is doing, their port authorities are not going to achieve any success. They cannot get bonds out into the market. The only way this port authority in Lorain County is going to be successful over time is with the continued support of the county, and the county driving the port authority and keep making it that premier lending institution by building it block by block. But you guys have been innovative and supportive of that process, and sometimes people don't recognize that you guys have made a significant investment in all of these things. And you know, what did Betty say about the collar and the turtle and getting your neck out there? I don't think the risks are manageable, but at the end of the day, somebody's got to stand up and have the courage to make these things happen, and this board has done that. And hopefully you'll continue to see that you want to do that, but you're not required to by any measure whatsoever.
Montgomery County down by Dayton has been able to go to the Department of Development prior to us being a port authority, and they've been able to, in years past, get state funding for their bond reserve to build that. And earmarks we've asked, but there's been a shift in the support from the state of Ohio for port authorities because they have enough of them operating that they feel that it's upon us. But we do have 4 years remaining in repaying our interest on the state's $1 million, and that will help free up some cash.
Since we're having a little bit of a dialogue in the Port Authority, the original $1 million from the state was leveraged with $1.5 million from the county.
Right.
The $1 million from the state, we have to return 100% of the interest for the first 10 years. The second 10 years, we return 50% of the interest. And at the end of a 20-year period, if the Port Authority is still up and running as a viable entity, which in this case, it may not be doing any loans, but it'll be up and running because we have loans that go past the 20-year mark for the Port Authority. So it'll be some organizational structure that will exist. Then the $1 million becomes a forgivable loan and turns to a grant, and it belongs to the Port Authority and the county. The $1.5 million that was what was matched, and I need to say that's another thing the state did to us, Betty. You remember that it used to be it was a dollar for dollar match. They gave away too much money. They came back and said Lorain County has to give more. We want our $1 million, and at that time we were able to find an additional $500,000 because the match went up to $1.5 million for the $1 million. The county is getting 100% return on that interest right now too, because the way we structured it, that we had the interest on the $1.5 million on the reserve returned to the county. It doesn't stay with the Port Authority. That's one of the revenue issues we have with the Port Authority. And because we've had income to the Port Authority, we haven't had to come back to the county and say, can we retain that interest? It was always thought that somewhere along the line we would make the request to retain the interest, but it was kind of silly to do so when we were first starting out, because the first few years we didn't have a lot of expenses, and letting the money sit there and roll up just didn't seem very practical at the time. And I'm assuming that the interest on that $1.5 million is probably around $75,000 or $80,000 a year that is returned to the county. So that would be revenue that would stay with the Port Authority to give it the ability to not need assistance from the county further. And the $1.5 million in the bond reserve fund was placed with the Port Authority as an advance, so that the Port Authority grew over the years, and maybe another 10 years it is a much bigger organization. They could be required, the county could call their advance back and be returned their $1.5 million. So it wasn't given as a grant to the Port Authority, it was placed as an advance. So clearly, you know, that makes it more advantageous for the county in the future should things go very, very well. Thank you.
Now, you need a quorum for this meeting. I know Tony's not been feeling well and probably won't attend.
Okay.
It is an open meeting, though. Anybody
Sure.
can attend.
Absolutely.
Can you let me know when that's going to be? Because I have somebody that I'd like to be there
Sure.
for that besides Tony.
Okay. Well, as a...
Just as
Okay.
somebody that has a lot of information,
Okay.
not a voting member.
That's what I didn't. I was just going to look at Ron and see we allowed for alternates in our bylaws. I wasn't sure. I still have not heard from a majority of the board. I'll keep you in the loop, Commissioner. I'm sorry Tony isn't feeling well. Funny, usually he's pretty quick, and I haven't heard from him, so I was wondering if he may have been out of town. But we definitely need 2 more board members to get a quorum.
Well, there's only 3, isn't there?
No, there's 5.
Five.
Okay.
We need 3 for a quorum, but we like to have 4.
Okay.
So, maybe we can have the meeting at Tony's house. I'm willing to go anywhere to make things work, so if he's, we're trying to get that meeting for Monday, sometime Monday, even Monday evening, Monday night, so that we can move forward. We haven't given public announcement of the meeting yet because I don't have any return emails yet, but we'll probably do it as an emergency meeting and notify the media under the emergency provision so we can get this thing moving. It's real exciting, and I wish I could give you more information, but it'll be forthcoming very quickly.
I think after these things are all done, assuming they are all done, we should ask the Ohio Department of Development for some money. We asked them a couple years ago, and I think that you should continue to ask, especially if all the things that have been outlined here today are put together. It shows we've been working, and we have done our part. Let them kick in a little bit. I think we should ask. All they can do is say yes or no.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the discussion on a matter that I think is, well, I know is near and dear to my heart. And just for a local flavor, the first deal that the Port Authority did was the Lorain County Visitors Bureau. Am I correct, Ron? And that's on State Route 58, and I think that was a fine project to begin with. It was advantageous for both entities. Mr. Ennis?
I will ask for an executive session to follow up on discussions of a couple of pending legal matters that we had last week.
Thank you.
Commissioners report.
I have 2 things. First, I want to wish Pat Schmitz a happy birthday, who's going to be celebrating that birthday on Saturday. He watches frequently, so hopefully he sees this. He'll be happy to see that I wished him a happy birthday. He says, "You never wish me a happy birthday." Anyways, the other thing is, I don't see Sheriff's Committee in the audience today, but I had a lot of people question me about the boat dockage and the boats and what's going to happen with all of that. And they're saying, well, we're, short-staffed on patrols, and where's this money going to come from? Well, I spoke to Sheriff's Committee yesterday, and all the money for salaries and everything is going to be paid out of Homeland Security money, so there's no money coming from the Sheriff's Department or the county or anything like that. So I just want to make everybody aware that we're not going to be cutting road patrols to put sheriffs out on the boats. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Looks to me
My
like
turn?
we're getting a big
I got all
report,
kinds of
huh?
stuff. It's been a busy week. As everyone saw in the paper, last Thursday I got a phone call from Environment Ohio about the energy bill that was coming down, and I've been working on the renewables legislation for, I don't know, a little bit over a year, knowing the energy bill will be expiring at the end of 2008. They asked me to put together, in the afternoon, 45 copies, get them in folders, have them ready to go, and be in Columbus by 10:30 Friday morning to testify on the renewables. Worked on it quite late. Mike Challenger from Rain Growth Corporation accompanied me. Pete Pappas from Labor's Union here in Lorain County, because there's some prevailing wage language that got deleted in the latest update. And John Sekulik, who owns St. George's Renewables company, specifically in wind. On our way down, received a phone call that there were issues going on. The new legislation had been vetted out, and it looked like it was going to really raise consumers' rates for electricity. It was going to an open market. The governor's quite upset. Speaker of the House Husted shut committee hearings down 10 minutes into them. They worked on it all weekend. The governor's still threatening a veto. And as of this morning's Columbus Dispatch, no offense, local papers, but they keep pretty up on it, Brad. It's going to be next week now. They canceled 2 special meetings. Actually, Monday night, Tuesday a.m., the Democrats walked out of the hearings on this when they weren't even allowed to discuss the amendments that were being put in, 23 amendments that the committee did pass with no discussion. The Senate was supposed to have a meeting last night at 9 p.m. Yesterday, they're supposed to convene to a special House call with the Senate meeting. The Senate is now recessed for a week, so the state of Ohio is another week behind getting an energy bill that's good for the consumers and also pushes renewables. They did do a very nice job on the renewables. The Utilities Committee, they hit all the earmarks, all the benchmarks that are required. I was very happy with that, but everything they did on the backside really would harm. The Ohio Manufacturers Council came out against it strongly. The governor came out strongly. We have groups just going nuts. Ohio Consumers Council came out against it. So hopefully they'll go back to the table and get us a real energy bill that works and keeps the renewables. On Monday, I was back in Columbus. I serve on the County Commissioners Association Economic Development Infrastructure Committee. The energy bill was a hot topic again. I spoke to a commissioner from Washington County, and the issues they're having is the actual distribution of power down there. Washington County, very small county, 20,000 some residents. They have 4 major companies that employ 150 to 200 workers, so it's not very large. They're losing 2 companies to West Virginia right across the river because of regulated electricity prices. So I mean, it's a sad fact all over the state of Ohio, we're losing jobs, and without a proper energy bill, our energy companies haven't come forward to be part of economic development like they have in the South. We just lost a company with 3 weeks ago was announced was going to Arkansas, Jim?
Yes.
Again, not having a proper energy bill with renewables in it. We're doing our job here. They actually said in their response to Department of Development that Lorain County gave the best presentation of anyone they spoke to across the country. We just didn't have the package to come together, so Arkansas beat us to it. So it's been a quite frustrating week. We're still working on it, and I can't wait for Commissioner Blair to tell me about Nowaka, because I had to skip Nowaka last Friday to drive to Mansfield and have breakfast and turn around. Commissioner?
I wasn't even going to talk about it until you mentioned it. First of all, thank you. That was very informative, and that's how our legislature works, give and take, and you hope that they come up with something that's palatable to all people. So that's the process, good, bad, or indifferent. There was an article in the local newspaper Wednesday. It talked about the EPA wanting old meds turned in, and I emailed Dan Billman. I said, "What are we doing something?" My question was, "Are we in the mix?" And Mr. Billman sent me this wonderful, and you can have it at the podium, Dan. Sent me this wonderful ad. Oh, you got your own? Yeah. I want you to hold it up so Hal can get it, about what's going on Saturday, April 19th.
Good morning, Commissioners. This project that we have is Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day. We've had it for quite a few years. Every year it seems to be getting better. We're collecting an awful lot of stuff. So I think that probably I should, while I've got the podium, speak to what we are collecting. So everybody knows they can bring acids, pool chemicals, 12-volt batteries, car batteries, bleach, household batteries, we'll take them. Some of the flammables is like paint and paint thinner and adhesives, motor oil, solvents, stuff like that. We also take poisons, which are, some of the fertilizers are very, very bad, and pool chlorine is really bad. Toxics like rat poison, antifreeze, insect killers are a lot of what we collect from previous years, and we're expecting quite a bit. We also collect the mercury, which has been a hot topic for many years, and we were probably one of the first ones in the state to start collecting mercury and doing mercury programs as much as we have. The one thing that we've changed this year, before all the hubbub was about to begin on the meds, we had already made arrangements to have that in our collection this year. It's a very real problem. I read up a lot on it. And a lot of it's in our drinking water. And the issues haven't been really addressed real good by the sewage disposal plants when people drop this stuff down the toilet and the drains. So this will help, and this collection will help alleviate some of them from going into their water supply. And that's very important. we are probably one of the first, if not just the second, to have a collection on meds in our household hazardous waste collection. So we're ahead of the game there. And having said that, this collection will be on April 19th, which is Friday. It's 9 to 3, and the collection points will be JVS. Saturday.
April 19th.
Yeah.
Okay.
This Saturday. Collection points will be Lorain County Community College, and also the Joint Vocational School on Route 58. We are expecting a fairly good crowd, as we normally do. Last year, the stats were, we had 4,700 plus vehicles come through both sites. The majority of them were probably at the college. We collected 571,000 plus pounds of items. The average pounds coming out of these cars was 119 pounds
Per
car. What we've seen in that respect, we've seen the car count drop off from 206, where we had 92 pounds per car. And what we think's happening is people are collecting it for their neighbors, and instead of having 2 or 3 people wait in line, there's only one.
That's good.
So it has, the poundage actually on our cost factor is about 33 cents a pound to get it recycled. And most all items that we collect are recycled, if at all possible.
Dan,
So
the medications, are those then redispensed to people who may need medicine that can't afford medicine?
this year, we haven't found anybody to do that. We haven't found somebody that will do that for us.
I just read recently that.
Yes, I
who
know.
was- You can't get a hold of that?
We haven't been able to make the connections to make that happen. Not saying that within the next couple of days, we won't be able to do that.
So your plan is just hold on to that until maybe you can reach these people that do redispense the medicine?
I haven't thought about that. I don't think that's a good idea. When we start holding on to stuff, we get into another ballgame with EPA as being a collector. And we don't want to have to go through all that paperwork and the aggravation and the liability that we would have if we kept that stuff too long or in a volume. I don't know how EPA would see the meds in.
I think priority number one would be to get a hold of these people to get that medicine redispensed, as expensive as medicines are these days, and people out there in need of medicine. We can, what a great way to recycle and help people.
Oh, yes, you're entirely right. I think that probably if we, I believe that maybe we will have the contractor, which is EEI, do the legwork and not recycle them themselves, but give them to the organization that can do that. So that's just come up in the last couple of days. I seen in the article probably, about a week ago maybe?
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to get that done. And if we don't get it done this year, it'll be definitely done for next year.
What about like the free clinic or something? No?
I don't know.
And you're going to hear today whether you received a grant for part of this expense?
We're working on a grant with US EPA specifically to do the meds.
Okay.
Today was the day that they're supposed to award the grant, so we should know tomorrow for sure whether we got the grant. And that's, I think that's a $25,000 grant that we went after. Yes.
Would be nice. Thanks very
thank
much.
you.
Shirley, you have a question?
I have a comment
You can comment.
on this. Shirley R. Johnson, Oberlin. I think it's a good idea to be able to collect these medications, but I think it's very important that people know how to throw away their medicines, because if you throw them away carelessly or wherever they're collected in their original prescription bottles, your identity can be stolen.
Good point.
Thank you, Shirley. I'd also like to comment that the West Shore stakeholders are having their meeting on April 23rd. It will be held at Westlake City Hall. I think I've said this before, but I'll comment again. The speaker is Donald Emerson. He is a consultant, formerly chief of the Federal Transit Administration Analysis Division, and he's going to offer strategic advice on how transit, highway, and multimodal transportation planning and project development based on over 30 years of experience can proceed. Looks to be interesting, and we have had a very successful Lorain County Transportation Day from Lorain County Community Alliance. Last week I announced that it was on the College Channel each evening for the week. And I'd also like to announce that it's on the Alliance's website if anybody wants to view the meeting. The, well, someplace I have it. It's LC, well, Hal will have it. No, I have it right here, I think. I'm sorry. lccommunityalliance.com. And you can view it at your leisure. You might learn a few things about Lorain County that you might not already know. And then Ted asked about the NOACA Executive Committee meeting. Brad had a very nice article. He attended the meeting, and I'm waiting to hear from my advisors, Ron Twining and Rebecca Jones. They put forth 4 options about how we might do economic development through NOACA, which is not one of its present missions. And the Economic Development Administration and Robert Hickey, that we have dealt with for years, they are suggesting, I don't think NOACA is suggesting, I think Hugh Shannon from the Cuyahoga County Commissioner's Office is suggesting that we do something on a regional basis, i.e. the 5-county area, through them. And if you look through and I did give you a copy of the material, and I talked to Ron, and then afterwards I went back and reread it, and Cuyahoga and Lorain counties are the only counties presently that receive any monies from the EDA. Lake and Geauga counties at this time do not qualify, and Medina County is kind of questionable. So we're already there and participating, and very well, I think. And so why would we be interested in going to that level? And so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Board correspondence.
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Public comment?
David Ashenhurst.
Morning, Commissioners. David Ashenhurst, Oberlin. Well, I was thinking earlier of saying something about this NOACA and an economic development thing, and I guess Commissioner Blair just said what I was about to say, but the one thing I was going to add was I hope that somewhere along the line people don't only say, how could NOACA do this, but how could NOACA do it in a way that would be better than it's already being done by Team NEO and all these other coordinating bodies that that are doing this. This almost seemed like a solution in search of a problem, at least from the article I read about it. And so I just hope that our representatives will hold them to not only saying, discussing the feasibility of it, but also looking at the advisability of it, because it seemed to me that what NOACA was proposing to take on was something that is already being done in a coordinated fashion
through other regional bodies.
Thank you, David. I like your comment, solution in search of a problem. But just let me clarify. I don't believe that NOACA is suggesting this. I think that members of the NOACA board have sought to look at different issues as we look at the original suggestion made by Lorain and Medina counties that we change the weighted voting. And all while we're looking at this, let's look at 52 other things. And we're talking about 51 of them, but the original request is in the background.
Well, and this is also a mission creep issue, it seems to me. I mean, NOACA does what it does, it seems to me, pretty well, I hope, on transportation planning. And I realize as you get into planning issues, everybody tells us that that residential planning and sort of housing development and things like that link right up with transportation planning, but economic development is really something, it seems to me, that follows transportation planning. It doesn't, it's not done by the same group of people or well by the same group of people in many cases.
It's always interesting. Thank you for your comments. Shirley, you want to talk?
Yes, please. I'd like to refer you back to your first page, item number 10, about the minutes. According to open government law, minutes must be prepared promptly and available for the public. When I started coming here in about 1997, that was not the case. Months of minutes were not available. During Teresa's tenure, she has made a consistent effort to have her minutes ready and up to date, and she is to be particularly commended for today's record, very up to date. Thank you, Teresa.
And thank you for your comments, Shirley. You're absolutely correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing else? I move we go into executive session for the purposes outlined by the administrator and the assistant prosecutor.
No, second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
And thank you again, Teresa. Nice job.
Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.